The deed transfer. My mom slid a piece of paper across the kitchen table and asked me to sign my house over to my brother. I'd bought that house at 23. 2 jobs, 4 years, 0 help from anyone in that room. I smiled, folded the paper in half, and told her I'd have my lawyer reach out in the morning. She thought I was bluffing. I was not. Let me back up, because none of this makes sense unless you understand what kind of family I come from. My brother Devin is 4 years older than me. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm saying that for our entire lives, the rules for Devin and the rules for me were 2 completely different documents. When Devin was 16, my dad bought him a used Jeep Cherokee. Nothing fancy, but it ran. It had 4 doors, and it had a functioning heater. When I turned 16, my mom handed me a bus pass and told me the exercise would be good for me. When Devin graduated high school, my parents threw a party, 40 people, a sheet cake that said, "The future is bright," an envelope with $600 cash inside. When I graduated, my mom made spaghetti. My dad watched a basketball game. I don't say this to be dramatic. I say this because it is just the accurate list of events, and I want you to understand that I clocked all of it. Every single discrepancy. From the time I was about 8 years old, I kept a running mental tally of what Devin got and what I got, and I made a decision somewhere around age 14 that I was going to build my own version of everything. They were handing him for free. I got my first job at 15. Pizza place. 9.25 Zaks an hour. 3 nights a week. And both weekend days. By the time I was a senior in high school, I was working 26 hours a week. I had $4,400 in a savings account, and I had applied to every scholarship I could find online, because I already knew my parents were not covering college. They covered Devin's college. 4 years. Room, board, the meal plan, the whole thing. They told me, and I'm quoting directly here, that they didn't have the same resources anymore. This was the same year my dad bought a boat. I put myself through a state school on a combination of a partial academic scholarship, 2 work-study jobs, and $18,000 in loans that I have every intention of paying back myself, because I always do. Devin dropped out in his junior year. He bounced around after that, a consulting thing that never quite launched, a landscaping business that lasted 1 summer, a relationship with a woman named Britt, who my mother loved because Britt called her twice a week and brought her candles on birthdays. Devin is a charming person. I want to be clear about that too. He's the kind of person who lights up a room. He's funny. He remembers the names of your kids. He makes you feel like the most interesting person at the party. He just never quite figured out how to translate that charm into anything that paid the bills. By the time I was 23, Devin was 27. He and Britt were renting a 2-bedroom apartment in my parents' town, and he was in month 4 of another opportunity that my parents had quietly seeded with $12,000. I know it was $12,000 because my mom mentioned it one Thanksgiving. Not to highlight the gift, just casually, the way you'd mention the weather. That same year, I bought a house, a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, in a suburb 40 minutes away. I had been saving for the down payment for 5 years. I put down $31,000. My mortgage was $1,340 a month. I was working full-time at a logistics company and picking up freelance bookkeeping on weekends. The day I signed the closing documents, I sat in my car in the parking lot of the title company, and I cried for about 4 minutes. Not sad crying, just the kind of crying where your body finally lets go of something it's been holding for a very long time. My parents' response: when I told them I'd bought a house, my mom said, "Must be nice." My dad said, "Let us know if you need anything." I thanked them, told them I was fine, and drove home. My home. 11 months later, my mom called me on a Wednesday evening. She didn't open with hello. She opened with, "We need you to come to dinner on Sunday. It's important. I'm making lasagna." My mom makes lasagna approximately twice a decade. Both times were in service of something significant. I said I'd be there. I spent the drive over telling myself it was probably nothing. Maybe they were selling the house. Maybe my dad had a health thing and they wanted to tell us together. I ran through 11 different scenarios and not one of them was the correct scenario. I walked in to find the good dishes out. My dad at the head of the table, looking at the centerpiece like it owed him money. Devin and Britt on one side. Britt wearing the expression of someone who already knows the ending of a movie. My mom brought out the lasagna, poured everyone a glass of wine, and waited until we were all eating before she said it. We've been thinking about what's fair for everyone going forward. Devin and Britt are expecting a baby, and with the baby coming, they're going to need more space. They need to be somewhere stable, and we think, given everything, given how well you've done, and how good you are with money, that the right thing, the family thing, would be for you to let Devin have the house. He could pay you rent until he gets back on his feet, maybe 3 years. She slid a piece of paper across the table, a deed transfer form, already printed. My name at the top. I looked at Devin. Devin looked at his lasagna. I looked at Britt. Britt smiled at me like a woman who had rehearsed this. I looked at my dad. My dad looked at the centerpiece. I picked up the paper. I folded it in half. I placed it next to my plate, and then I finished my glass of wine, set it down gently, and said, "I'll have my lawyer reach out Monday." My mom said, "Sweetheart, we're not talking about a lawyer. We're just talking about family." And I said, "Then your lawyer can talk to my lawyer about family." I drove home, called my best friend Renata from the parking lot of a CVS and said, "You're not going to believe what just happened." She believed it immediately. She'd met my mother. I want to be transparent about one thing. For about 48 hours after that dinner, I questioned myself. I lay awake and asked myself, if I was being selfish, if I was being cold, if a good person would just help their brother. Then I did the math. I had put $31,000 down on that house. I had made 11 months of $1,340 mortgage payments. I had replaced the water heater for $1,700. I had repainted the entire interior myself, 4 weekends. $340 in paint. The number I kept coming back to was $48,080. That was what I had put into that house in 11 months. Devin's proposed rent was never named. Get back on his feet had no timeline. 2 or 3 years was not a contract. I was being asked to hand over $48,000 worth of asset, labor, and equity for a promise and a lasagna. So on Monday morning, I called a real estate attorney named Gail, who a coworker had used for a property dispute 2 years prior. I explained the situation in 9 minutes. She said, "Nobody can make you sign a deed transfer. Your name is on the title. That's it. That's the whole answer." I said, "I know. I just need to know what happens next." She said, "I can send a cease and desist letter to your parents, specifically stating that any further contact regarding this property will be treated as harassment. That usually ends it." I told her to send it. It did not end it. What it did was make my mother cry for 3 days and send me 14 text messages that escalated in register. From "I can't believe you'd involve a lawyer in family" to "Your father and I have done everything for you" to, and I am reading directly from my phone here, "Devin needs this more than you do. You've always been the strong one. This is how the strong one helps." I did not respond to any of them. I bought a Ring camera for the front door. I changed my garage code. I added a deadbolt to the side gate. That weekend, my dad showed up unannounced. I watched him on the Ring app from my kitchen. He stood at my front door for 4 minutes, knocked 3 times, then drove away. I did not open the door. The following Tuesday, my mom called from a number I didn't recognize. She'd borrowed Britt's phone, and when I answered, she said, "It's me. Just hear me out. Britt is 5 months along. Where is a baby supposed to go?" I said, "Mom, please have your lawyer contact Gail. I don't have anything else to say." She said, "You don't have a heart. You know that? You never did." I said, "Okay," and I hung up. Gail sent a second letter. This one explicitly cited the calls from unknown numbers and named Britt's phone specifically since I had the call log. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. About 6 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, a different one this time. It was my mom's sister, my Aunt Carol, who I had not spoken to in approximately 2 years because she and my mom are extremely close, and she has always operated as an auxiliary voice for whatever my mom believes. She opened with, "I just want to talk. Just the two of us, aunt to niece. No agenda, I said. Carol, I know why you're calling, she said. Your mom is heartbroken. Devin is going to be a father. This isn't about property, sweetheart. This is about a child having a home, I said. Devin has 2 legs and a work history. He can rent a home. He can buy a home. There are mortgages. There are real estate agents. These are available to adults, Carol said. But your house is already there. It's already set up, I said. Yes, because I set it up with my money that I earned. Carol, I have to go. She sent me a Facebook message 3 days later. I left it on read. Here is where it escalated, beyond what I expected. I got a letter in the mail. Not from Gail's office, from a different law firm entirely, a firm I didn't recognize, claiming that my grandmother had intended to leave money to my parents, specifically for the purpose of helping Devin, and that my down payment had come from commingled family funds, and that therefore the property had a disputed ownership stake. It was 4 pages. It used a lot of words like equitable interest and unjust enrichment. I sat with it for 1 evening. Then I called Gail. She read it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "This is garbage. This is intimidation theater. Your down payment was a wire transfer from your personal savings account. We have the paper trail. The title is clean. I want you to go pull 3 years of bank statements tonight and email them to me." I pulled 5 years. I also pulled my pay stubs from the freelance bookkeeping work, my W-2s, the closing disclosure from the house purchase, every mortgage statement, my grandmother's actual will, which I had a copy of because my grandmother, who was a sharp and careful woman, had mailed me a copy when she redid it in 2019, with a sticky note that said, "Keep this somewhere safe, honey, just in case." Grandma knew. She always knew. Gail reviewed everything, called me back the next morning, and said, "I want you to do a few things today. First, call your county recorder's office and put a fraud alert on your deed. It's free, and it takes 20 minutes. Any attempt to file a transfer without your signature will trigger an automatic flag. Second, I'm filing a counter-motion in response to this letter that will make very clear that any further legal maneuvering will result in us pursuing sanctions for frivolous litigation. Third, and this is personal advice, not legal advice, do not tell anyone in your family what you're doing. Not your brother, not your aunt, nobody. I did all 3 things. I also, on my own initiative, backed up every document to 2 separate cloud accounts, bought a fireproof lockbox for the physical copies, called my homeowner's insurance company to update them on the situation, and added 2 more cameras, 1 on the backyard fence, 1 on the driveway. I was not going to lose this house, not to the people who never once bought me a used Jeep Cherokee. 3 weeks later, I got a text from a number I did recognize. It was Britt. Britt, who had sat across from me at the lasagna dinner with the smile of a woman who'd rehearsed her lines. The text said, "Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I just want you to know that the lawsuit thing wasn't my idea. I didn't know they were going to do that. I want you to know I think this is wrong. I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be a conversation. Not all of this." I read it 4 times. Then I called Gail and read it to her word for word. She said, "That is potentially useful. Can you ask her if she'd be willing to put that in writing?" I texted Britt back. "I appreciate you saying that. If you're willing to say the same thing in a written statement, my attorney would like to have it on file. No pressure." Britt said yes. She sent a notarized statement 2 weeks later. In it, she confirmed that the deed transfer idea had originated entirely with my parents, that Devin had been told to stay quiet and let them handle it, that she had not known about the letter from the outside law firm until after it was sent, and that she believed her words. The whole thing was wrong, and I want no part of it. She and Devin split up 4 months later. I felt nothing about that. I want to be clear. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel sad. I just noted it, the way you note weather. Gail filed our counter-motion on a Thursday. The other law firm, whose actual client, it turned out, was my mother. Not my parents jointly, just my mother. Withdrew their claim. 11 days later, Gail called me with the news. From what sounded like a parking garage, she said, "It's done. The claim is withdrawn. Your deed is clean. Your home is your home." I said, "What made them pull it?" She said, "Britt's statement and 5 years of ironclad bank records. And honestly, the fraud alert on the deed spooked them. It meant any transfer attempt would be public record immediately. They didn't want that exposure. Also," she said, and I could hear her almost smiling, "your grandmother's note on the will copy was a nice touch. The judge reviewing the motion saw it. She made a comment. I asked what the comment was. Gail said, she said, and I quote, 'The grandmother anticipated this. Motion denied. I sat in my car, in the parking lot of my office building, for about 6 minutes. Then I ordered myself a very good dinner, went home, put on a documentary about the ocean, and went to bed at 9:30 p.m. The fallout took a few months to fully land. My parents received Gail's invoice for fees and court costs. We had sought recovery as part of the counter motion, and the judge had partially granted it. My mother had to pay $4,200 in legal fees. My dad, from what I gathered through my Aunt Carol, who had quietly switched sides sometime around month 3, had not known the full extent of what my mother was doing. He thought it had stopped at the dinner. He found out about the outside law firm from me, actually, indirectly, via a letter I'd asked Gail to send to both of them. He called me once. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail that said, "I didn't know she went that far. I want you to know that. I'm sorry. That was wrong." I saved the voicemail. I did not call back, not then. Devin reached out about 4 months after Britt's statement went on file. A simple text, no preamble. "I didn't want any of this. I know that doesn't change anything. I'm sorry." I believed him. I don't know why exactly. Maybe because he didn't ask for anything else. He didn't ask me to call him. He didn't ask me to forgive him. He just said the words and stopped. I texted back, "I hear you." That was all. In the family group chat, which I had muted, but not left, my Aunt Carol posted one day, "I want everyone to know I was wrong to get involved. That was her house." End of. Nobody replied. My mom went quiet on social media for about 2 months. Then she started posting recipes again. I don't know what to do with that. I don't think I need to do anything with it. It's been almost 2 years now. The house is still mine. I repainted the guest room in January, a deep green that took 2 coats to get right. I had a contractor put in a small deck in the backyard last summer. $6,200 for materials and labor, paid in full, no help from anyone. I refinanced at a better rate in the fall. My equity is sitting at roughly $54,000 now. I know the exact number because I check. I will always check. My dad and I have coffee about once a month. We talk about logistics stuff, his retirement timeline, my roof inspection. We don't talk about the deed. We don't talk about my mother. Both of us seem to understand. That's the deal for now, maybe for a long time. Devin got a job, a real one, with a salary and a benefits package at a distribution company across the state. He sent me a photo of his work badge. I sent back a thumbs up. It's not forgiveness exactly. It's not a door left open. It's more like a window cracked on my terms with a screen on it. My mother sent a birthday card in March, store-bought, signed just her first name. I put it in the fireproof lockbox. Not because I need to keep it, just because I keep things now. That's the thing nobody tells you about building something on your own. It's not the thing itself that changes you. It's the keeping of it, the understanding, quiet, certain, bone deep, that you are the only one who was always going to protect it. And you did, so now you know you can.